Tonight I'm speaking with Michael Curzio, a January 6th defendant who spent half a year inside of the D.C. jail. Starting off, I'd like to begin, Mike, with some background information about who you are and what life was like before January 6th. So please tell us a little bit about who Michael Curzio was before January 6th.
All right, yeah, no problem, man. By the way, thank you for doing this, Tim, and thank you for inviting me on, brother. I was a nobody, and I was just trying to make it. I had gotten out of prison in 2019 after an 8-year incarceration for attempted first-degree murder. It's not what everybody thinks. If you read the story and you look me up, I know it looks really bad on paper, but for people that actually know me and know the situations and what led up to the incident, it's not what it seems. But I had just gotten out. So first of all, I was with my ex-girlfriend Val. And me and her had split up. She got with an abusive guy. Me and her bought a house together. Well, we were getting back together. The guy didn't want to leave. We were talking about getting him evicted. The day before I went over there to check on her, he had beaten the crap out of her. Cops were called and everything. There was witnesses. One thing led to another. I went over there to check on her to see if she was okay. And the dude came out acting like he wanted to fight with me. That was my house and everything, So I told him I wanted to check on my ex. He said it was none of my business. So I told him, yeah, it was my business because that's my house and me and her were getting back together, and he had to figure out where he was going to go. And at that point, he tried to attack me, and I pulled a pistol out on him, and I told him if he didn't back up, I was going to shoot him, and he tried to grab my gun, and I shot him. So Florida, you're supposed to have a stand your ground self-defense law. Well, that didn't happen with me. And my ex-girlfriend lied to the cops, and I had to beat a life sentence. So I ended up taking an 8-year plea bargain. And upon my release in 2019, I had gotten locked up in 2012 during the Obama administration, and I had a decent job, but I would have never been able to survive on my own, without mine and my girlfriend at the time's income. Like, we both wouldn't have been able to do it on our own. So in 2016, even though I was in prison, I was still able to watch TV and keep track on the politics and running of the 2016 election. And I was just like, all right, let's see if Trump gets in. Let's see what happens. So I got out in 2019. Nobody wanted to hire me because of my felony conviction, which is understandable. So in a period of 4 months, I was able to get enough money to get some tools and a vehicle together. And I started a mobile mechanics business, and it just took off from there. And within a year, I had a car, a truck, a motorcycle, and my own place within 1 year of getting out with absolutely nothing. Not a penny to my name, nothing. So I was like, okay, I became a real hardcore Trump supporter then, because now it was like I felt like okay, we got a chance now. Gas was $1 something a gallon. And, life was great. Food was cheap. I was able to make my rent, no problem, make my car insurance payments, no problem. Everything was good, golden. And then the pandemic hit in 2020, and I started losing customers. And then it got to where I was living day by day, not even week by week, constantly running out of gas, constantly trying to ask for extensions, So I got sick of it, and I got that $600 stimulus check in 2020. And I could have used that for my rent. But a friend of mine had gotten a hold of me, and he said, hey, there's going to be a protest in D.C. on the 6th. Do you want to go? And I said, I sat and I really looked at everything. I looked at my life. I was fixing to lose my place. I was fixing, even though they had those landlord couldn't evict a tenant at that time, I don't roll like that. If I can't afford my bills, I pack up, I go, because it's not that person's, you know what I mean? And it really wasn't our fault either, but that's the type of person I am. I don't want to get into debt with somebody so far to where now it's like, okay, I'm going to be tied to this person for years, even if I don't want to be. So I said, all right, man, I'll go. And I've never been to D.C. I don't really travel outside of Florida much. So I was like, all right, man, I'm going to go see our nation's capital, be a part of something. I thought it was just going to be a protest. We're going to go there, we're going to hoot, holler, we're going to chant, and then come home. And when we got there, it was like, all right, this is cool. And there's a lot of people showing up, and there was a lot of support and we're like, okay, this is cool. Everybody was very nice, kind, helped each other out. It was awesome. And then on the 6th, we're up at near the Washington Monument.
The Ellipse?
Yeah, the Ellipse. We went to the Ellipse. And we heard for the rally, and it was awesome. Like you could feel the energy there, and all this bullshit people want to talk about with how Trump's against gays and transgenders and immigrants and Latinos and shit is all it's all bullshit. Okay, sorry for my language, but I just got to call it out because that day I was there. I saw Chinese Americans for Trump. I saw Latinos for Trump. I saw gays for Trump. There was transgender people there that were Trump supporters. And guess what? Nobody got into altercation. It was like a big party. Okay, if you've been to a Trump rally, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, and it was just an amazing day. Okay, and then when he said, let's go down to the Capitol, he didn't say, let's go down there and riot, let's go down there and do it. He said, no, let's march down there peacefully and let our voices be heard. And that's exactly what we did. But, now I'm out and my life's just gotten way better. And I got a good job, got married, and, my life's done a complete 180. And now I'm happy to. That was one of the best decisions I ever made, was to go there. I didn't want to get in trouble. Didn't want to, have what happened happen. Didn't want to see what happened, but it happened. And, enough was enough. The American people were pissed off. And finally, it came to a head.
Well, you kind of took us into the beginning of January 6th with the Ellipse and Trump's speech there.
Sorry about that.
Can you? Well, no, that's fine. Can you take us further? Can you describe what the day of January 6th was like in total? Can you take us from beginning to end? You're at the Ellipse. You're listening to President Trump. What happens after you leave?
All right. After we left the Ellipse, after his rally, everybody just started walking down the street towards the Capitol. And let me tell you something, okay? All the police that were there, Capitol Police, D.C. Police, whatever Metro, all the police that were there had the roads blocked off. They had, the cops were just standing out there. And we were walking up to them, shaking their hands, telling them, God bless you, telling them we hope they make it home to their families. We hope everything goes right. We were saying we hope that Antifa didn't show up to riot and all that. And some of the cops were like, yeah, because they already knew. And that's really the only thing that anybody even probably had a inkling about being opposition towards us would have been like the Antifa type. The ones that wanted to start the riots and the ones that wanted to, rile things up. That's the only thing that was going through. I never would have dreamed that the police and the government, all that stuff. I would have never thought that was what was going to happen. So, we got to walk into the Capitol and everybody started posting up and, chanting and hooting and hollering, USA, stop the steal, this is our house and all that. And everything was still peaceful. Even though we were chanting and hollering, it was all peaceful when we got to the Capitol. Everything was fine. What else? And then, I don't know, we were standing out there. I can't remember exactly what time. I'd have to look at my phone and see exactly what time, but I I want to say after about, between an hour, maybe around an hour or whatnot, we were out there hooting and hollering, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, flashbangs and tear gas started getting chucked into the crowd, and nobody was doing anything wrong at all. Like, nobody was doing anything at all. And it was like, whoa, okay, what's this about? And it just kept happening. It kept happening. And where I was standing, there was a couple of flashbangs that got tossed into the area where I was standing. And there was children, elderly, there was people, all kinds of people there. And two that I could think of, I know one of them I tried to get help to with the EMTs, but I know two men died that day from, I think the one was probably a heart attack or some kind of health issues. All right, I think the one that died near me, I think he died of a heart attack from the flashbang that went off about 1.5 feet away from his face. And then there was her name? Roseanne Boyle. And then Ashley Babbitt. But see, everybody only knows Ashley Babbitt's name. Nobody really knows about Roseanne. And I'm sorry to say, I can't even remember the two gentlemen that passed away that day's names, but all their names should be remembered and said. All four of them.
So from that point on, you have flashbangs going on. You have flashbangs going off. Is there any other behavior from the police that you think was, I suppose, provocative or excessive from your perspective where you were?
I wish I would have had like the full video. I don't have access to the entire video of that day, but the little snippets that I have, I mean, you don't really see, but I'll tell you my firsthand experience. All right, there was instances where because I moved from to the front, then back to the back, and then back to the front, because I just wanted to see everything that was going on. And I witnessed on several occasions, Capitol Police come up and instigate the crowd. Like if you were standing near the front, they would instigate. And things that I witnessed was I saw one of the Capitol Police come up and smash a guy in his hand with a baton. The guy was leaning up against a post or something, and he wasn't past no guardrails, no nothing. He was leaning up against a post talking to some other friend. Capitol Police officer walked by and smacked his hand with a wand, probably broke his hand. Then I saw some police officers go from the back line up to the front, spraying the crowd, and then running back. And then just indiscriminate chucking of flashbang grenades and tear gas. Where those flashbangs and tear gas were landing, there was no altercation. There was nothing. It was in the total opposite direction of wherever there was chaos. And that's what I witnessed. I witnessed cops opening doors for people, stepping aside and saying, hey, you guys have a right to be here. Just don't break anything. Okay? Inside the Capitol, I talked with police officers. I'm surprised there's not a video of me. I shook hands with a Capitol Police officer while I was inside the Capitol. They had multiple opportunities to do whatever, but it wasn't. And then for some reason, in the area that I was in, I was picked up in the visitor center, and everything was cool. And then all of a sudden, the doors burst open, and 10 cops rushed in, and they just started grabbing people and throwing people on the floor and jumping on people, and they were trying to fight with people. Just out of nowhere, they weren't telling any commands or nothing. They just bust through the door like stormtroopers and just started taking people down. And I was in the process of trying to catch video and photographs of this. And one of the cops came up to me and tried to take me to the ground, and I was like, hey, you ain't got to do this. I'll go with you. I'm not here to fight you. If you want to arrest me, I'll go with you peacefully. And that was the end of it on my part.
What happens then? You're apprehended by this officer. Take us take us through what goes on after that. You're in the Capitol Visitor Center. An officer apprehends you. What happens to you then?
Okay, so this cop comes, and everybody that was apprehended in that instance, when all those cops came in, we were all put on like this little stairwell. And then some other officers came to relieve them. We were zip tied too. They didn't even use handcuffs. They zip tied us. And then I was passed off to like a detail with a sergeant and several other officers under his command. And the officer that had me, his name was Wall. I think it was WHAL or WAHL. But I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure his name was pronounced Wall. Young dude. But he had me. He was cool. He didn't disrespect me, didn't treat me bad or anything. He actually cut my zip ties off and put 2 of them on because it was really hurting my shoulder. So he put an extra zip tie on for me so I could have a little, and he gave me water, and if I had to use the bathroom, he let me use the bathroom. So I mean, he was a real cool, real nice guy. But then all the chaos was ensuing, and we ended up meeting up with Ashley Babbitt's detail. And I was probably about 3 feet away from her gurney, and we were trying to walk with them to get out of the building, but there was just so much chaos and so many people around it. We couldn't get out, but they were able to get Ashley Babbitt's gurney out. And I'll never forget that because I actually watched that. So, and I've heard that there was people out there saying that was staged or that was fake. No, it wasn't. I saw Ashley Babbitt on that gurney with my eyes physically. I saw her bleeding. So that's all I got to say about that. But then we couldn't get out. Every door that we tried to get out of, we couldn't. Like there was too much chaos going on. So they ended up bringing us to these like service elevators that were on the interior more. And when we got on those, we went down I'd say probably about 5 floors, probably about 50, 60 feet. And when it opened, there was tunnels under the Capitol shaped like domes. There was underground little subway system. It had like these mini subways in there. And I mean, the tunnels were big enough for a freaking tank. You could probably roll 2 tanks, 2 Abrams side by side in some of those tunnels. It was wild. It was wild. And we walked for probably about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And then we got on another elevator, came up. And when I came up, it was dark. And I looked to my left, and the Capitol was about a quarter mile away. So they took us in the underground tunnels to get us out of there. I mean, that was crazy. That was some stuff that you only think of in the movies. Like, oh, okay, is it really like? Yeah, it's really like that. There's tunnels. You could probably get to any building anywhere in Washington, D.C. underground.
So you exit the tunnels. How long were you in the tunnels exactly?
Probably about 20 minutes.
20 minutes. And from there, they took you to the police station?
Yeah, they took me to the Capitol Police Station. Not the D.C. police station, but the Capitol Police Station. And I was in their custody for probably about 7 hours. So by about 10-something, I was released. 10-something at night on January 6th, I was released. And they made me walk. Listen, man, they made me walk through the war zone by myself with no phone and no knowledge of how to even get back to I didn't even know where I was. I had to walk from the police station all the way back to my hotel room while the riots were going on, while the BLM riot was going on. And I'm not going to lie, dude, there were some times when I thought it was real sketchy, and I was like, okay, if it's going to go, it's going to go. I'm just going to fight as much as I can. I ended up making it back to my hotel room thanks to some cool D.C. residents who pointed me in the right direction and told me they hoped I made it back to my hotel room safely.
And what were the conditions of your release at the time?
Nothing. Just they gave me a notice to appear for June 10th of 2021, and that was it. I had my charge was unlawful entry of the Capitol building, which was a misdemeanor.
So they give you a notice to appear for a misdemeanor, and then you're released on your recognizance. What happens after the night of January 6th when you get back to your hotel? take us from that period to your next apprehension.
Okay, so January 7th rolls around, and it's like, okay, I didn't really realize how bad what had happened was. Which, it's not that it was bad, but it was something that shouldn't have happened the way it happened. You know what I mean? It's like it could have been prevented, but people, in the end, we were set up. That's the one main thing that needs to come out is we were set up. The government set us up. They entrapped us. So that's what people really need to understand. But, I get back home and my friends, hey, Mike, man, what the heck happened? You were blasted all over the news. And I'm like, look, man, they're coming after me. And they're like, what is it? And I showed my paperwork and everything that I got. I showed everybody. They're like, oh, man, that's nothing. You're not going to get in any trouble. It's like, no, they're coming after me. Like, I got a feeling they're coming after me. And all my friends are like, no, dude, they ain't coming after you. You'll be all right. You just got to know, notice to appear. You're going to be all right. I'm like, no, I need to get a lawyer. So, the days start going by. And then, I still got that feeling in my stomach. And I left my job. I was working with a friend of mine. And I left my job on, the 14th of January. And I was heading into Wildwood to go look for a part for my truck. And out of nowhere, 3 SUVs. One was burgundy, one was silver, and one was a local law enforcement. One pulls in front of me, one pulls on the side of me, one pulls behind me. I have 2 FBI agents and U.S. Marshals exit their vehicles, and the U.S. Marshals runs everybody's got their guns drawn on me. Right in the middle of the street at 301 and 42. I get ripped out of my truck, thrown on the ground, gun pointed right at my head, and the U.S. Marshal says he'll blow my fucking brains out if I try to do anything. Over, at that point, 2 misdemeanors. Okay? Now, I understand that I have a past. I understand that. Okay? But number one, you had me in custody and let me go. You did not try to contact me whatsoever so that I could at least turn myself in. Give me the option to at least turn myself in. Okay? So that we wouldn't have had, because had they gotten a hold of me and said, hey, we need you to turn yourself in, Mr. Curzio, don't make us come after you. Hey, all right, I'm going to the Marion County Sheriff right now and I'm going to turn myself in. I was never given that option. Okay? So I get in the back of the patrol car. I get taken to the Marion County Jail, and the sheriff deputy that had me was pretty cool. He didn't judge me anyway, and he didn't treat me, indifferent or anything. He treated me with respect, So I end up getting to the Marion County Jail. I get booked, this and that, and then the FBI wants to talk to me, and I'm like, I ain't talking to you guys. You go get me a lawyer. I know how this works. This isn't the first time I've ever been in trouble. I know if I talk to you, I want to believe that if I talk to you, that it's going to do good, but it's not. And then they started asking me about my friend, and I'm like, I'm not telling you anything, So, okay, well, it's within your best interest. Yeah, well, it's within my best interest to keep my mouth shut. So go get me a lawyer. And that was that. They didn't talk to me anymore. And then I was kept at the Marion County Jail. I saw a magistrate. They gave me 2 more misdemeanor charges. So in all, I had 4 misdemeanor charges. I think it was picketing, parading, and demonstrating in the Capitol. I had violent entry of the Capitol building. I had some kind of a misconduct. And something else. They were all 4 misdemeanors. And I'm thinking about they're not even giving me an option of bond or anything. You have me on misdemeanors. I don't have any felonies. And I was denied bond on misdemeanors. When we were in the DC jail, and I had went for 3 bond hearings and got denied. And I think right before or right after I got denied one of them, we saw a story in the news about this girl who killed her 2-month-old baby, put it in a trash can. The kid went to a dump site. this girl was arrested, and they let her go with no bail, no nothing. They just on her own recognizance. And I'm like, I got misdemeanors, and I can't see my family. My dad was sick with stage 4 lung cancer. Right after I got arrested, he started going downhill. So it was like, I want to get out and see my family. You know, you have me on misdemeanors. I don't have any felony charges whatsoever. And they just would not. I was such a danger to society that they couldn't let me out. And some of their reasonings for that was that they didn't know if I was, because I do have, you know, there's one thing that's got for anybody that looks me up. Okay, when I was in prison, I joined a gang while I was in there, and in the process of that, when you're in prison, if they find out that you joined a gang, you get put on what's called the STG file, security threat group. Okay, now I've done business with all kinds of different walks of life and all kinds of different people and all kinds of different ethnic groups that are gang affiliated. Okay, so all the BS about I'm a white supremacist, this and that and the other, it's all BS. It's not, stuff doesn't work like that anyways. But they started using that a lot against me. So I'm like, look, man, you guys you ain't saying anything. I told my lawyer, they're not saying anything about what I did on January 6th. The only thing that they're doing is they're bringing up my 2012 arrest and my 2013 conviction. That's what they're bringing up. So it's like, why don't we get rid of all this stuff, and why don't they just retry me on the attempted murder charge? You know, because that's everything that they kept. And I tried to plead guilty. I got to a point where my dad was, you know, my mom said he was rapidly losing weight and he wasn't able to do a lot. I just told my lawyer I want to plead guilty, and I tried to tell the judge I wanted to plead guilty, and the judge told me, "Oh, no, don't say anything. I'm not taking anything right now." How the hell are you not going to let me plead guilty to the charges that you have against me? Which told me that they were still hoping that they were going to find some unicorn photo or video of something of me doing something felonious. That's the only reason why. And then when they didn't have anything, they finally said, okay, we'll get him on the misdemeanor charge, picketing, parading, and demonstrating, and we'll make him serve the full max 6 months, which doesn't sound like a lot of time, but it's unheard of for people to be maxed out on their sentences in the feds, even in state. A lot of times people don't get mandatory sentences, you know? So it was all political. They politicized every single bit of it. Because they wanted you to know, if you stand up and you want to question Big Brother, this paper that has been around for centuries says that you have these rights, but we don't like it. So if you try to exercise that and hide behind the Constitution, then we're going to get you. And we write the laws, so it doesn't matter. Okay? Who was it? Okay, it was somebody during the Soviet era. It was somebody that was under Stalin. You show me the man, I'll show you the crime. And that's what happened with each and every one of us. Well, some of us did. So some of, when I say us, I mean, you know, the people that got arrested for J6 and people that were involved. Some people did some dumbass shit and went there for the wrong reasons. If you went there to get famous, if you went there to get views, or, you know, just to say, oh, yeah, I put my feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk, or I did this, I did that. Oh, you know what? You went there for the wrong reasons. If you went there to just start trouble and fight with cops, you went there for the wrong reasons. And you're Antifa. You ain't American. You know? Those of us that went there and said, hey, look, enough is enough. You know? You're all our heroes. We're all heroes that did that. You don't want to get recognition for standing up for your rights. I mean, who wants recognition for that? There shouldn't be nobody getting recognition or trying to get likes or trying to get views or trying to get rich because you're trying to save your fucking country. You know, anybody that has that mindset's a fucking idiot. No, I'm sorry.
Not a problem. The you had gone over the detention in Florida, and you had gone over the fact that you were denied bail or denied bond several occasions, not just at the state level, but then at the district court. Can you take us on the path from Florida to the DC jail? How were you moved around? Was it the marshals? Where did you go after you were arrested in Florida?
Okay, that's you know what? Oof. Okay, and this to this day, like, I don't understand why they did what they did. Because from all the J6ers that I know, nobody went where I went. I'm not saying that there isn't anybody, but I haven't met a person that has been to the federal prison that I went to out in Oklahoma. Okay, and this should really make people think. All right, now the way it works when you're arrested and you're charged. You are not convicted. Okay, this is what people need to understand. You're not convicted. So, yeah, you got to sit in jail. Okay, you're innocent until proven guilty. Da 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 da. Okay, but you're supposed to be if you're not sentenced to prison time, you're only supposed to be in with like county jail inmates. You know, people that are awaiting trial or awaiting to go, or you're supposed to be in a jail. So I left the Marion County Jail, went to Baker County Jail. I was in the Baker County Jail for about a week, then got flown from Florida to Atlanta, and then from Atlanta got flown to Oklahoma. Now this is where this gets weird, okay? What was the jail that they took most of the J6ers when they got to Oklahoma? What was the name of it? Grady County?
Grady County.
Okay. Grady County Jail. Okay? That's where, if I'm not mistaken, that's where you went, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's where I, Lang, Pat McCoy, and Jeff Sable went.
Okay. Now, I got shipped to a place called Cimarron in Oklahoma. It was a federal detention facility. Okay? Now, I was shipped there with another guy, a bald man whose name was, they said was Burdick, or whatever. He told me his name was Burdick. Seemed like a cool guy. Didn't seem like the type to be a criminal. You know what I mean? He said that he was in there on some dope charges or whatever. He got caught with some pills, whatever. He could have been a Fed plant, but it is what it is. But me and him ended up going to Cimarron. Okay, and it was odd too, because when we got there, I said, look, man, they don't usually put people like us that are from a jail in general population in a prison. Okay? That's so dangerous on so many levels. That's a life-threatening situation that if it was a mistake, should be, if somebody got killed, that should be negligent homicide. Because what if something happened to me in that prison? What if somebody saw my tattoos and my gang affiliation from the Florida prison system, I don't know, and decides they want to stab me, or decides that they want to take me out or seriously hurt me? What can I do? I'm in general population on a prison wing, not a jail, but a prison wing. Okay, nothing happened. I mean, everything was cool. Everybody was cool with me. I'd done 8 years in state, so I knew how to handle myself. But it was just that was going through the back of my head the whole time. Was like, why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I at this facility? And they took everybody else to Grady.
Well, the thing about Grady is that it's a county jail, I suppose, but it's contracted with the marshals.
Well, a lot of county jails are contracted with the marshals so that they can do what's called federal detentions. So, like, let's say Marion County police officer picks me up. Like, let's say I was speeding or in a stop sign, and he runs my name, and I have a federal warrant. They have a contract with the U.S. Marshals to detain me and have the marshals come and get me, but they have a certain amount of time. Like, they can't indefinitely hold me. They call the marshals, and they say, hey, we picked so-and-so up. When can you come get them? You got 30 days. And then after 30 days, I think they got to release you.
Well, knowing that the four of us who would later join with you on Con Air, knowing that we were...
Oh, dude, I got sick. That was the first time I ever flew. you remember the takeoff?
Yes, those planes felt like they were made of cardboard.
Okay, not just that. Okay, were you there when the pilot got on the intercom and called for the mechanic twice?
Yes, that was...
Okay, dude, it's not like you can pull that thing off over when you're 30,000 feet up, pull over on the side and lift the hood and check it, you know? I mean, that shit's got to be taken care of before you get off the ground, you know what I mean? I'll never fly again. I don't want to see snow. Had us on the tarmac. They lost my clothes in Oklahoma. So remember, I had the blue prison uniform on. I got flip-flops and socks with just a pair of BS jeans and a prison shirt. And I'm on a tarmac with my hands cupped to my waist and my legs shackled together. And I'm freezing. There's snow blowing around all over the place. And they had us probably about, 20, 30 minutes out there, man. Come on.
Yes, you were very blue when I first saw you. I thought you were wearing scrubs, like you were working in a hospital.
That was the Cimarron get-up. Oh, okay. Here's one thing that I want to know. Did anybody else catch it when those U.S. Marshals or whoever was contracted with the U.S. Marshals in the air, how they were treating us, how they were treating the detainees?
Yeah, I was actually, I from my perspective, it seemed like the marshals weren't that bad. It was the contractors, the air contractors that they had with them who were very rough and, frankly, very disrespectful.
Not only that, okay, were you on that flight where I guess that black dude acted up?
Yes.
But that one that looked like he was staring, that one whatever contractor that was bald with the muscles and the tattoos, he said, I'm going to stack this motherfucker, bring him in the back. What does that mean? Like, I'm really curious as to what stacking somebody means. And then you take them into an area of the plane where no one else can see. What are they doing back there? Are they, like, having a chat or something? I mean, why can't they talk in front of everybody else? I mean, what does stacking mean?
I could be off the mark. I think it could refer to adding more constraints to someone, or like the black box, I believe they call it. Where
yeah, but you don't have to do that out of the way of everyone else. And the way he said it, dude, I don't know.
They were very aggressive on those flights, and again, it wasn't the marshals. It was these Air Corps.
Whoever they had contracted, because I know that they didn't have U.S. Marshal. They had some other insignia on their uniforms.
Yeah, I think there was one actual air marshal on the plane.
Well, why didn't he say anything? Hey, you can't do that, or you can't act like that. You know what I mean? Mm. So they didn't care. Dude, they were beating people on that plane. I know in my heart, like, you could put a gun to my head right now, and I still would say I'll put my life on it. That they were beating the crap out of people on that plane. I got like a real bad vibe. Like, those guys were probably killing people on those planes, dude. Like, the way they acted, that was, and nobody cares, and nobody knows, and nobody cares, because to a lot of the public and a lot of the people out there, because I used to be like that too before I got in trouble. Well, they did something to get in trouble, so that just comes with it. You know what I mean?
Well, if they didn't kill prisoners with violence, I'm sure they would have with the bologna sandwiches. Oh
my God! Well, dude, I liked the bologna more than that other stuff. Some of them other things that they were giving us.
The two cookies and the interesting thing.
The peanut butter and jelly.
Mm. It's always interesting to get 2 slices of meat and 4 slices of bread. I'm not sure how many I'm not sure how the sandwich math works for the marshals, but it doesn't work for me. So you get taken to a prison in Oklahoma, and then you link up with those of us who were in Grady County. So we're all in Oklahoma. You come from prison, we come from the county jail. They put us on the tarmac and load us up on Con Air. From Oklahoma, where did you go from there?
We made a stop in West Virginia. That was when we were in we landed in that, like, airport or whatever that had the mountains around it. Remember, there was snow on the sides of that was when I got out of my prison uniform with no friggin' jacket, no nothing. Freezing. I was so miserable, man, on that tarmac. That 20, 30 minutes was the worst 20, 30 minutes, dude. And we went from there, we were bused to Virginia, to a jail, Northern Neck region or whatever. And I think we were in there like a week under quarantine. And there was a guy in there that was a fucking idiot. You remember the guy that was upstairs? The guy that was upstairs, the obnoxious guy.
Yeah, so there were definitely characters in Northern Neck. I didn't realize at the time it also went by the Warsaw Jail. It's called, but Northern Neck, Virginia. Yeah, I do believe we were in there for about a week, the five of us.
Yeah.
From my recollection, Pat McCoy and Jeff Sable were kept under continued quarantine. I'm not sure if that's because they tested positive for COVID or what the reason may have been, but I do recall one night we got COVID tested, and that was the hint that we were getting ready to leave. So that early morning, we're getting ready to be shipped out, and take us from there.
Well, first of all, okay, yeah, we get shipped out, but I just got to put this out there, man, because Jake Lang is a character. Jake Lang is a character. This dude, when we got put on I just want to put this out there, dude. Okay, was pleading on the ride to the DC jail for trying to get the guards that are driving us to let us go because they know that we're innocent and we did nothing wrong. Okay. I just thought about that, and I had to put that out there, dude. That's one thing I really remember about that.
Are you positive that wasn't a figment of my imagination?
No, dude, he said that. And I laid back, and remember, I laid because we were all in the same bus, or same van, and I laid back in my seat and just went to sleep. I'm like, dude, that ain't gonna work. Shut up.
I was concerned. I was concerned that we were going to end up getting shot because he was essentially advocating a jailbreak.
Yeah, dude, he does not realize that if those two dudes weren't as cool as they were,
and they
could have gotten him for enticing a guard.
Yeah, and it is interesting too. From my recollection, they were actually pretty respectful to us.
Yeah.
I recall them, playing music for us. They were, it really.
They didn't treat us bad at all. They treated us with respect and dignity. Like, they were cool. Even some of the guards inside the DC jail were cool, but a lot of them, this was what was odd about them. So we finally get to the DC jail, okay, and then they put us all in the same pods, okay, the same sections, okay. So we get in there, and at first some of the guards were cool, but then they started turning on us. And then they started putting guards in there that just didn't like. It seemed like there was a lot of people that didn't like us. Number one, because we were conservative Trump supporters, and number two, there were some of them that I didn't think like us because everybody wants to say, only black people experience racism, but that's not true because we experienced racism in that DC jail for a fact. Okay, nobody knows about that. Nobody cares, but it happened to a bunch of white people that were Trump supporters, so it's okay. But no, there were some guards in there that should not have been on our wing because of some things that I've overheard and I've seen and I peeped. So they had a lot of foreign guards in there from Africa. I think. I don't mean anything like African. I mean like from Nigeria and those African countries, and some of them were cool, but some of them did not like us at all either. And that's just, and any officers that actually did their jobs and were cool with us, it seemed like they didn't want them around us. They ended up like switching them out with the ones that would just treat us like crap.
I want to come back to the guards and a few other things about the conditions there. But yeah, from what I recall, we ended up in the DC jail on February 3rd of 2021. And we actually got separated at that point because I received a false positive for COVID-19. They swabbed our noses, and they had housed me in the COVID wing with a kitty diddler. So they take, my understanding, they took you and the others. Well, basically you and Lang. They took you to C2B.
Of course, they Northern. Yeah, well, not C2B because we were in
C2A.
Yeah, I think we were in C2A or whatever. We weren't in C2B. C2B ended up being our permanent home once we got, situated. But the first place that they held us in was like deplorable. Dude, there was mold on the walls, water leaks. Like it was stunk. It was bad.
So
like a dungeon.
Was this C2A, the one that was adjacent to B through that door at the end?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, why were you housed there? Were you quarantining as well, or did they just not have anybody in C2B at the time?
Well, no, they just said that they were getting it, like, first that place, and you know what, hold on, okay? I'm sorry, but this is weird, because I want to bring this up, because the actual DC DOC guard told me this. Okay, I'm not going to put his name out there, but told me this. Actually, two of them told me this, that they set us up because 2 weeks prior to January 6th, they started cleaning out those two wings. That was told to me by two DC DOC staff members. I almost forgot about that, dude. That just rang through my head just now.
So, I've heard the same thing as well. So when you did get there, it was you, it was Lang. How many other defendants were you housed with in that particular wing before C2B?
Well, there was me, Lang. I think there was very few of us at first. There was like 6 of us or something at first. And then as they started rounding people up, we started needing more room. And I think that C2B was bigger than C2A, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I don't know. But then it started getting a little bit crowded when I was there. Like, we had all the bottom row cells were filled, and quite a few of the top row cells were filled, if I'm not mistaken.
It was a maximum of 48, I believe, 24 per floor.
Yeah, and then it got to the point, because remember when they started having nowhere to put them in the DC jail, so they started keeping people in their county jails at that time. But yeah, there wasn't many of us. I can't remember everyone. Yeah, I remember Barnett. Barnett was the first person I met. Oh my God. Anyways.
Well, I know that I never made it to C2A. By the time I was done quarantining, and they had moved me from the quarantine section to Gen Pop, and they had put that Shomo in there with me. I didn't get to experience it long. I was in solitary as well, but it was, I basically, after pretty much a day, maybe 2 days, I got moved out of that cell with the Chomo, and they brought me to C2B. So I was brought directly to C2B when I was done quarantining. I never made it to C2A. And so by the time I was there, you were already in C2B. Lang was a little further out. I remember Cleveland was there.
Yeah.
I believe Lonnie.
Man.
Yeah, I believe Lonnie Kaufman, Sam Camargo. There were a few people who were already in C2B when I showed up, but yeah. So that was interesting. I never experienced C2A. They had me segregated somewhere else, but
you didn't miss nothing much.
No, I don't believe I did.
There was a lawyer dude that was in there too, a long-haired dude. Forgot what his name was. McCoy, man. Remember McCoy now?
Yeah, yep. McCoy from I believe from Georgia. He was an attorney. He actually had I believe he had some form of cancer.
Yeah.
And he finally got bonds, but unfortunately, I believe he did get convicted. But
dude, I knew that it was going to happen. I knew that everybody they were. No matter what, they were going to convict us. It didn't matter what you did; they were going to convict you of whatever.
Yes, yep. That's unfortunately so. Well, on that subject, I'm going to bounce around, but I do want to come back. I do want to come back to the convictions. First, we're in C2B. We're in the DC Gulag. We're in the Patriot Wing, however you want to refer to it.
Patriot Challenge!
Mentally challenged. We're in there. It's solitary confinement, from what I recall, 23 hours a day initially. Tell me a little bit about the conditions in C2B when you first arrived.
In C2A?
Both, I suppose. I'm sure it didn't get much better when you were moved over.
Well, no, C2B was better than C2A because, like I said, C2A, it had bad plumbing issues. And, dude, there was a lot of mold. There was a lot of mold in that wing. There was a lot of mold in that wing. Scary.
Well, I recall there was a lot of mold in C2B, but I noticed there was a tendency for them to quote unquote clean it up by painting over it. It's a very good cleaning tactic, very scientific.
Yeah, because they think that the mold won't be able to go through the latex.
Science.
Yep, that's how you do it, dude. That's just like if you paint rust, your car won't rust anymore. It'll be back to normal. Yes,
they have very big brains in Washington, D.C. I'm very jealous. I do recall there were a few plumbing issues in C2B, but fortunately they probably weren't as gratuitous as C2A. Tell me, in terms of hygiene, in terms of cleanliness, in terms of just go through the different the different things you experienced in C2B in terms of I personally I recall every time I had gotten linen or I had gotten a towel, they were usually stained with human excrement or urine.
Well, see, I'll tell you sometimes what it was. Sometimes the stains, I'm not going to say whether it was or wasn't because I didn't work in laundry. But when I was incarcerated in my in Florida Department of Corrections, and from my understanding in jails, they have what's called trustees. Okay, and trustees, they'll run the laundry, they'll run cooking breakfast, they'll run cooking, the kitchens, they'll run outside maintenance and stuff like that, because it's cheap labor. They ain't got to pay these guys. Or at the states that do pay them, they get paid, under $1, you get 13 cents an hour or whatever. But sometimes, though, some of the stains that you will see on towels are rust because, somebody will put something that's still damp down. Because I've done it before, and it's oh, man, somebody's going to put their shit on their towel. But I'm not going to say that some of those things that they gave us weren't the top tier. We didn't get the best of the best. I'll just put it that way. You might have gotten something with something on it. So But I just want to put it at ease, though. Sometimes, that I'm not going to give you no BS, but I'm going to give you your oatmeal without sugar.
Yes, I was. I would. One of my. Yes, it's funny. Is like even knowing if it was just a stain. And
no, but I didn't know. I can't tell you 100% because I didn't work laundry. But I can just tell you from my experience that some of those situations happen. But
sure.
Also, they'll make you wash the doo-doo rags. Because that's how cheap they are.
Yeah.
So, we might have gotten... I'm not going to... I guarantee you 100% that we got some things that we shouldn't have probably gotten.
Right.
Things that should have been probably thrown away or destroyed. When it comes to towels and yeah, there were some of them that I did look, okay, yeah, that's...
There weren't many things. There weren't many things in C2B that irked me as much as taking a shower and then grabbing a towel and looking at the stains on it, and getting ready to put it on my face to dry it off.
Listen, you gave me I talked to you about something, and dude, you don't understand what you did when you told me about the waffle stomp, bro.
Mm.
Because knowing that I might have been in a shower that Civic did that in, bro. I'm telling you, listen, okay, listen. Okay, I told everybody that was coming in. A lot of people were blue collar. They'd never been in trouble before. They're business owners, family people, ex-military, serving military. Okay, and nobody was criminals. Nobody had ever been through that before. Okay, so by him doing what he did, someplace, dude, that could get you possibly killed.
Well, it was an issue.
It sounds funny, when people hear somebody say something like that. Oh man, why would somebody? You don't understand. People are savage. When you get put in a hostile environment like that, especially incarceration, people are savage. Man, you can watch somebody lose their life over a spider. I mean,
what's funny is it was fairly bad, all the other conditions, but then to see for the first time, there might have been some issues with sewage, but for the first time after that, I started seeing sewer flies, and that's usually an indication. Yeah, so I mean that's an indication of open sewage, and so it's just that building was essentially, as we already discussed, it was essentially a condemned area that was cleaned out for. So it was the infrastructure was bad enough as it is, then to add open sewage, it's it's not very good.
Listen, let me just say something real quick, Gabe. Let me just say something real quick. The 6 months, and this is no exaggeration, okay? With the conditions that we were held in, and the way they treated us, and the way they wouldn't let you talk to your all that stuff, dude. That was the worst 6 months, 180 days of my life than the 8-year sentence that I did in state.
Tell me a little bit about that. For me, not being able to receive communion or attend religious services, that would have been a big deal had I had that in the jail. You have gone through sort of a religious shift since that time.
I've had my coming to Christ, brother.
And I'm happy to hear that.
Lord Jesus Christ, yeah, I accept Lord Jesus Christ as my Savior.
At the time, you were a practicing Odinist, and go into, if you don't mind, go into a little bit how that factored into your incarceration. I know there's the aspect of how it came up or how it was treated by the courts and the prosecutors, and then there's also the side of inside the jail in terms of whether you were able to practice. Could you get into that?
Okay, yeah. Okay. At the time, I was an Odinist. I practiced the Norse religion type, as best as I could. All right. And I tried to, stick to that path of life, which was very positive. I mean, you met me. Everybody in that jail met me. I became friends with almost everybody. I became friends with almost everybody in there. Almost everybody in there liked me. And I was supposed to be this nasty, attempted murdering Nazi, but what they painted me as. And yet, Cash Kelly, me and him became very close in there. That dude's like a brother to me, man. Troy Smocks, older black gentleman. And guess what? I didn't treat him no different than I got to know these, and these people got to know me. And people had seen my tattoos. And, I explained, hey, it is what it is. I did what I had to do to survive, And plus, it was less of a burden on my family because I don't come from any money, man. My mom couldn't come visit me all the time. My parents couldn't. I got in trouble when I was 26 years old. I got out when I was 33. My family couldn't come see me all the time. My family wasn't doing good. They couldn't come put money on my books all the time. So, I'd almost been stabbed 3 times my first few years in, and I had a couple attempts with they call a lock in a sock. You put a padlock inside of a sock or sometimes on a belt, and then you just swing that and try to take somebody's head off. I've had that happen to me a couple times. And I had guards in Union County, Lake Butler, 2 guards. I thought they were going to kill me because I got caught smoking a cigarette. So, it was like I had to do what I had to do to survive, You can't fight every day and win every one, And I seen the way, after my first few years, I saw the way that the inside worked. And I caught the eyes of some dudes that were cool, and one thing led to another, and I joined an organization. But once I joined that organization, it wasn't what people think, because we did business with everyone, and it was the inmates against the guards is the way that it was. It's us against them. So, it wasn't about everybody got along. Everybody was cool, We got along with the Spanish gangs. We got along with the black gangs. We got along with everybody, and we did what we had to do to survive. And unless people are put in situations like that where you have to fight for your life. There were some instances where when I was solo, I had to sleep with my boots on, dude. Because when you're solo, you're fair game. I mean, it's not like, the movies, but, if you're solo and you ain't really well connected, you're fair game for anybody. And then it's not just that you're going to have to fight one person or, 2. Sometimes, dude, you'll go to the bathroom to go brush your teeth, and 4 or 5 dudes will come in there, grab you, rush you, grab you into the bathroom, dude, just beat the crap out of you. Another dude will be rummaging through your stuff while you're getting the crap beat out of you in the bathroom. And it was risky. I had a couple of times in my life, and I was like, screw this, I'm done. All right. And then once I got, affiliated, the whole dynamics changed. Then I didn't even need to rely on my family at all, because I had a brotherhood in there, and we took care of each other. We took care of business, and, we did what we had to do. And I became, more self-reliant and learned about camaraderie and true who's got your back in certain situations, because there were some hairy situations that people don't understand out here. That, it's sink or swim, life or death. Because somebody might have been short $3 on a friggin' gambling table, that dude might get stabbed because of it. Like, people don't understand. Ramen noodle soup could really, really mess you up. That remark I made about the spider, you don't have pets when you're in there. So if we catch a bug, I've seen people with pet roaches, grasshoppers, spiders, lizards, whatever. And when them officers come in there to do a shakedown and they find your lizard, they're going to squash it. They find your spider, they're going to kill it. And I've seen people raise these spiders from when they're a little speck until they get about the size of a quarter. And I mean, you grow to love, I've done it a couple of times. You grow to love these things. These are your pets. These are your babies, In this world of chaos, you love this little spider more than anything else. And then, guard just come in there because he doesn't like you and just kills it with his pen, knowing he can do it and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, this kid had gotten the whole dorm shook down. He was a drug addict. Had gotten the whole dorm shook down and got this old man spider killed. This old man had a life sentence. And let me tell you what, after the shakedown, the old man was cleaning up his stuff. Kid went into the bathroom, smoked a stick of K2, passed out on the toilet. This guy stabbed him probably about 15 or 20 times right in the bathroom, dude. Just left him smoked up on the toilet, washed the blood off. Dude saw what happened, was like looking at him, and the dude looked up and says, what? I got a life sentence. What are they going to do to me? You going to say anything? Dude turned around, walked away. Guard came and did his walk around, walked through the bathroom, and you seen the river of blood go into the drain. And that was it. All of us got back on our bunks. They brought the gurney in, life flighted the dude out. I never heard if he lived or died, but all over a spider.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just went off on the.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, I would have liked to have had a spider in jail. I would have liked to have had a spider. What's interesting is the until we actually got outdoor recreation, I don't think I saw it.
Remember?
What's that?
The cicadas.
I never saw anything until we got to go outside for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you were next to me at one point, but from my perspective, all I could see behind me with that tiny little window was like a 3-inch slot. All I could see was I could see the parking lot for the guards, and I could see a graveyard. So all I really saw was concrete and death. So, it was definitely a breath of fresh air to go outside for the first time and see maybe a bird or what have you.
The cicadas is what I remember when we went outside for the first time. All those cicadas.
How long, from your perspective, like how long do you think it was before you finally had the opportunity to have real recreation, not just the hour out of your cell, but actual recreation time outside?
It had to have been after April, May, maybe June. May or June, late May or June or mid-June, somewhere around there, dude, months.
It sounds right. In terms of recreation, before those months, what was recreation for us for the most part inside of the DC jail? What was actual rec time, really?
That your door was popped. That's all it was. Was that you were allowed out of your cell. I mean, we had a couple, chess. We had chess. We had, a couple board games. And 2 TVs. That was it. And the phones. That was what rec was. And you can order your commissary. That was what your rec was. And you couldn't, oh man, all that COVID bullshit. 6 feet away from each other and all that shit. Oh my God, dude.
During this time, at the height of COVID, really, I mean, because from your time, we got there in February, but you were still arrested in January, really. So, really, from January until the end of your sentence, half a year, really, you're pretty much in solitary conditions. You're living at the height of. There really was the height of COVID in terms of the overlap with January 6th incarceration. You pretty much were in there probably at the worst point with the COVID, with the conditions of COVID anyway, or the restrictions, I should say. So that they did the social distancing. Did you have to wear a mask?
If you stepped foot out of your cell, if you answered the officer at your cell, you had to have a mask on.
What were the restrictions jail wide with COVID? Were you ever were you allowed to get visitations?
Oh, hell no. No, and jail wide, I can't tell you what jail wide was, because you want to, my honest opinion is I think that they treated us differently than they treated the rest of the jail. That's my honest opinion. Because I had some insiders say on a few different occasions that, man, they're treating y'all like this because all them other inmates and GP and stuff disrespect the shit out of those officers, and they can get away with just being tyrants over here.
When they segregated me away, I told you they had me quarantined for COVID, but then they put me in Gen Pop for a day, and it really there's a big dichotomy, it seems, because when I was in Gen Pop, not only did the guards get disrespected, the guards had to hide behind a giant bubble. They had a control panel where they sat at that was protected by a layer of plastic, and that really wasn't the same as in C2V, was it? Despite us being domestic.
No, they had all the guards would sit there and talk with us and mingle with us and whatever, and they had a desk that was right there out in the open. Like, they sat back with their feet. All they had to do was just sit back and relax. They didn't have to do what they did to agitate us. Like, they purposely did that to demoralize us, the way they treated us. That was a tactic, and it worked on a lot of people. It did. Even for a minute, I thought I was going to go nuts. I cried on my friggin' vent to you one night.
What kind of things? What kind of things? Because I mean, guards can reasonably get away with a bit, especially because it's their word against us. And
exactly.
What kind of things did the guards do or say that you think people should know?
Okay. All right. Now, we had done National Anthem. We've been doing it like not too long after we got in there. And you know what, man? It was just so organic the way that happened, too. The National Anthem. You remember that?
Yeah. It became
our tradition.
Yeah, it became a jailhouse tradition. But I actually remember starting to sing that with you and Sable and the others before we actually got to DC. It actually started. You didn't like that tarmac because it was so cold, but I recall you joining us. We hadn't known you yet. You were just kind of there with us.
And dude, I had tears coming out of my eyes too, dude, on that tarmac when we were singing it.
Yeah,
I did.
Yep, and I remember it wasn't just on the tarmac getting ready to board that plane. It was like every time they, the marshals or the county cops would move us around, anytime we were being moved around, we would end up doing it on their little buses or what have you.
Yep. Yeah, dude, you know what? And and I know, okay, that some of them officers were really felt bad about what they had to do with us. I guarantee it, dude. Those two that transported us, I guarantee you.
I caught them smiling. I think they enjoyed it, actually. I think they enjoyed getting I don't think that they... I think a lot of them... I recall we were being transported once, and you'd mentioned Lang harassing them, but there was actually... Those ones in particular, they had actually even said that they would have ended up with us if they had been there, but they were working at the time, but, they didn't hold... the kind of animosity a lot of the ones in DC did.
DC, I did. When I seen that we couldn't even get our cases transferred, I knew. Do you remember when I came back from a court call one day, and I said, "We're all effed. They're gonna get us. Just hope that you didn't do anything that they can friggin' stick on you."
Yeah, I remember you were always. I don't even want to call it cynical. It was just matter of fact. You could tell. You came back from one of your bond denials, and you were just like, "Man, I ain't going nowhere."
Yep, I knew it, dude. It was like, I knew it. Yeah. I'm not going nowhere. It was worth a shot, you know. They say every shot you take, you know, you miss every shot you take.
Yeah.
Or you don't take. You miss every shot you don't take. So
some people miss every shot they take, but yeah.
I missed every shot. Every shot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because, and the reason, dude, the whole reason why they did not want to give me friggin' bond, which I didn't even qualify for bond. I qualified for the Bail Reform Act. They should have just let me go on my own recognizance, because all you had was misdemeanors the whole time. You could have let me go. We could have went through all the BS with the misdemeanors. And then if you found something, because you could always charge me later with a felony if you found some felonious stuff I did, okay, and then have me turn myself in. Because when you release me on my own recognizance, I still got to be somewhere where you know where I'm at. You know, I still got to be able to check in and stuff like that. So, you know, it was just everything that they held against me had nothing to do with January 6th or my actions on January 6th. It was all about my past and how I look on paper, which it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, I know me. All my friends know me. You know, so
let me
people that are in my corner that people wouldn't even believe are in my corner.
Yeah. Let me rewind back, because you had mentioned the anthem when I had brought up the treatment by the guards. How did the anthem factor in? I believe you were going to go into an instance of government, or I should say, guard overreach or mistreatment.
No, what that was incitement. That was a guard trying to incite us into a riot. Okay, and then they threatened, threatening bodily harm on an inmate. Come on, man. You're
talking about the instance with Scott Fairlamb.
Yeah, dude. Because remember, we were saying the national anthem, and then we were singing, what was it, Amazing Grace?
I think it was God Bless America. Yeah, I think we had kind of. I think we kind of did all the above. I think, And that night, I think we were kind of going through a different. We were kind of going through a marathon of singing.
Well, I mean, we're that's the Patriot wing. Okay, right. We're known for doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, and I always remember. I think he was a sergeant, but I always remember his name. His name was Holmes. 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 And he come in there. Told us all to shut the fuck up. There was a lockdown the whole friggin' wing again. And when Scott Fairlamb said, "Hey, Sarge, we're just singing the national anthem and God Bless America. We're not doing anything wrong." That son of a bitch looked right at Scott and looked at all of us and said, "Fuck America and fuck you too." I'll remember that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that did not go over well with the inmates of the pod.
Yeah.
I still have the grievance letters I wrote. Yeah. I have them saved.
And then they came up to Scott Fairlamb's door with the goon squad.
Yeah.
And threatened him. Which I think he would have kicked all their asses anyways.
Well, he was a professional MMA fighter. I put my money on Scott against anyone in the.
Yeah, it's all three of them. I'll bet you Scott would have probably thrown him off the balcony. I mean, he's not that kind of. He doesn't take me as that kind of person, but with the type of the skill level that he has, I don't think them three guards would have been able to, unless they rushed him.
Well, he was also in a cell, so they'd. I think he'd have home field advantage. I don't know.
Dude, the best thing to do is just get down to your boxers, wet yourself up with the sink, put some soap on you, and soap up the floor. Wet and soap the floor. That's it. Come on.
What other... I'm going to move on from the slip and slide.
I'm sorry.
What other kind of... what kind of things do you recall guards saying to the inmates? How did they treat them man to man?
Man, I mean, okay. Here's the way I could put it, okay? If you knew how to conduct yourself and act, I'd say a couple of guards were really cool with us. I'm not gonna lie. Like when certain guards were on, they treated us right. Okay, I mean they didn't go beyond protocol really for us, but they treated us right. They didn't disrespect us. They made sure we had our hygiene. They made sure we had our toilet paper. You know, even if we needed to make an emergency call, you know, they do, like, they were cool. But then you had these officers that went out of their way to, like, single us out or mess with us or whatever, you know, want to shake your cell down or just, you know, gripe at you because you're scratching your nose and you had to put your mask down so you could scratch your nose. Put your mask on. Put your mask on. You took your mask off again. Unlock yourself. Whoa, what the hell, dude? I just got to scratch my nose, bro. That's it. Get in your cell. What the? What? I didn't know. Get in your cell. Oh, man. Okay.
Sounds like Swami.
Yeah.
Don't know if you're...
Oh, dude, you know what I'll always remember? It was you, too, dude. Okay? It was you. You had me believing that Wakanda was a real place.
What? No.
Yeah.
Wakanda forever.
Yeah, but, you know, I asked you, I said, hey, where do you think he's from? And you said Wakanda. And I was like, where's Wakanda? And I knew it was it sounded like someplace in Africa. I'm like, where's Wakanda at? And you were like, are you serious? And I'm like, I know it's in Africa, but where? And you're like, are you serious? I'm like, dude, where is it? And you're like, you don't know what Wakanda is? I said, no, that's why I'm asking you. You dumb redneck. What? It's from the Black Panther. When did it come out? 2016. I was in prison.
I think, even with my black heart, I think a part of me felt bad after that.
No, because you were like, oh. But I don't know, dude. He freaked out a lot, dude. When that dude spazzed out, he became like very like aggressive and like, I don't know, vindictive. What was his name again? Swami or some shit?
Swami? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we're talking about the same guy, Swami, he was...
Yeah, he had the glasses. He always had gloves on, the tall, skinny...
Three layers of protection.
Oh, my God. I mean, dude, he seemed like outside he'd probably be a nice person, but it was like he got that badge and that stuff in there, and that was like, he was God over us.
It was strange, because he was, he wasn't a Jehovah's Witness, but I think he was a Seventh-day Adventist or something. Like he
was some kind of Christian.
Yeah,
he told me one time. Yeah, he told me one time he was a Christian.
Yeah, so he would have like religious diatribes that you could almost respect, but at the same time, he was super pop. He was like an NPC. As soon as he came into the pod, it's just I don't know what his issue was. I was not a fan of his. He was, like you said, vindictive. But then there were times if you caught him in the right moment.
Weird. He was weird like that. Like he'd be cool. It's like, you know, you caught him an hour later. Guess what can I do for you? Oh, you need toilet paper. You know, and then he'd let you go get toilet or call an orderly to get your toilet paper or whatever. You know? Other times he'd walk by like, hey, can I get some toilet paper? No.
You know what's interesting is I have heard that there was this dynamic where you had mentioned that the Africans behave differently than say like the African American ones, because I mean most of the guards were either African or native African American. I think there were two officers that were white. I think one was Hauser, and then there was another one.
Yeah, Hauser.
Yeah, there were two, but for the most part they were non-existent. So you really just had those two, but from what I have heard, I don't know if you heard the same, a lot of the African guards were kind of chafing under mistreatment from like the higher brass, and a lot of them felt compelled to mistreat us by the warden, and as I said, sort of the upper brass in the chain of command. So I don't know if you ever got the impression that they were kind of compelled to mistreat us, but I know that many of them, I some of them seem to come in and just not care, not they didn't look at us as domestic terrorists. They seemed very detached from the January 6th shit in the first place.
Yeah, they were just doing what they were told.
Yeah, a lot of, and I've always come away with this, is that a lot of these guards were native. They were from the area, and they either believed the propaganda about us, or they took January 6th personal because of us
being in their backyard.
Yeah, and we were the other. We were the outsiders who came into their backyard, so to speak.
Oh, that was the case for sure with some of those guards, for sure, 100%.
Yeah, it was always.
Some of them looked at us like, there was one in particular. You remember Hayes? And he even though he tried to act like he was cool with us, he hated us.
Yeah,
dude, he hated us. That dude smiled in your face, but the whole time, I guarantee you, behind his eyes, he's like, "Yeah, you motherfuckers are gonna burn." That's what I got from the gleam in his eye. I
remember being taken to a court hearing on Zoom. He had had a gaggle of officers with him, and they were actually reading my paperwork. And of course,
they're not supposed to.
No, I know, indeed, and not for nothing, but with the narratives around me being a fellow white supremacist, it was kind of disturbing to be sitting at a desk supposed to be having my due process and all that, and then next to me are guards calling me a white supremacist. And keep in mind, these are the same guards who are watching over us, and so I definitely think that not only there were different levels of vindictiveness, but I think all these different reasons really caused this situation to escalate more than it ever should have. Hayes in particular, I don't know if you experienced this, but he would just call people he would randomly call people Proud Boys when he was moving them through the halls. Here comes Proud Boy. And now keep in mind, there's no evidence that certain individuals were Proud Boys, but it didn't stop him. So,
yeah. Well, you want to know what's real funny, dude? Let me tell you about Hayes. I'm going to tell you the type of officer Hayes is. Okay? Hayes is the type of officer, all right, that wants to get over on you as much as he can and degrade you. And he's the type that he'll hold a grudge against you, even on his personal time. Because he did it to Cash Kelly.
Yeah.
All right? Called on his day off, watching the inside of that jail from his car while he is off duty, supposed to be at his house or whatever. How can he check in on C2B? How can he get into that camera system while he's off duty and call whatever officer is watching us and tell them to put a certain inmate in their cage, in their cell? Okay? That's illegal. But anyways, what I'm getting at is I never experienced any of that with Hayes. I know the type of person that Hayes was. Yeah. Okay? Everything that you're saying is 100% true. Okay? Because Hayes wasn't my dog. Hayes wasn't, but because I had been incarcerated before and for a long period of time, I knew how to handle myself with officers of that nature. You know what I mean? So you notice I never had a problem with Hayes. I never had a problem with that Pinkton dude. And those were the ones that really didn't like us. But they liked me. And look at everything that was said about me, like in the news. They called me man tied to a violent prison gang, man tied with ties to white supremacist prison gang, whatever. It was all over the place. Everybody knew. I had my tattoos. Everybody saw I didn't hide anything from anyone. Okay? Guards, everyone. But notice, I got along with every person in that jail, including the guards.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I was the type, because some people be like, oh, well, if he's getting cool with the guards, it's because he must be snitching around. I don't have to. Because number one, I ain't got to get nobody in trouble because it ain't going to benefit me whatsoever. And I had bullshit charges to begin with. Because I heard that somebody, a little somebody that me and you know, had mentioned that I might be talking to the feds. And, I just want to snuff that out. Anybody that had anything about it, I told them every time they tried to get any information, they never approached me. After I told them in Marion County, at the Marion County Jail, basically go screw yourselves, they never approached me again, ever. Ever.
Well, on that topic, did you ever feel as though there were there elements inside the jail that you thought were trying?
Hell yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I know exactly where. Yeah, I know exactly the question you're asking. Yeah, there was, and I think that they had got to some of the detainees too and had them flip. And I knew it. And that's the thing. I forewarned everybody too. I said, look, you're not really going to know. You're not going to know. They'll just come to you one day and ask you. Say, hey, we got a good deal. All you got to do is cooperate. And I guarantee you, some of the guys that were in there took that. They jumped on it the first chance they got. Okay? And that's just the way it is, especially for people that have never been through this before. So they're going to see that and they're going to be like, oh, hell yeah, I don't know these people, man. What do you want to know? I don't know these people, but not knowing that realistically, that the people in there are good people. Man, almost every single person that I met in that place was a good person, genuinely good person I trust my life with. There was a handful that weren't, but a majority of everybody that was in there, those were my brothers and sisters. I never met any of the females. Well, I did. Okay, but not in that way, whatever. Jess Watkins, love you. But, almost every single person that I met in there, man, was a good person. And nobody deserved what happened, man. At least none of you guys did. I felt bad, Alex Harkrider, Ryan Nichols, that broke my heart. Shit that happened with Dominic. Those are good guys. Shane, Schwartz. Those were all good guys. The day I left, man, my heart sank, man. I missed you guys so much. I started crying as soon as I left, man. I felt like I was abandoning my boys.
Yeah, I remember, I believe it was the day before you left, we had some recreation time outside. And, instead of doing laps like usual, you were just kind of slumped against the fence on the grass, like you didn't know what to do.
I was going to spend time with my dad. I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that, but...
What, you had alluded to the factor of, uniting with your father before, his passing, because of course he was very sick at the time, and I know that weighed on your choice to take a plea deal. For those that aren't aware, like, what was the situation, especially for those of us who were in DC? What was,
I didn't really know the severity, yeah.
Yeah, what, like, in terms of getting access to, like, the actual discovery in terms of the evidence of your case, in order to weigh your decisions, even ignoring the situations people had with their families, like, how hard was it to actually, you had actually said, people couldn't get visitations with family. What about legal visits? How difficult was it to see your lawyer or talk to your lawyer?
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck. Back to Congress. Dead serious. I was fortunate. I had I was provided with a paid attorney. I didn't pay for them. They ran out of PDs, so they hired a private attorney, private firm for me. And my lawyer, he gave me his personal number. So I tried to give them calls at night, and I got through, but unfortunately that didn't happen with everyone, and it'd be months before people saw their lawyers or got anything. And they were denying people's rights to a speedy trial. That's part of your friggin' constitutional rights, bro.
Hmm. Did you
they denied so many of our friggin' constitutional rights. I mean, it's not funny, dude. It should make you sick. Like, people should really be upset about what the federal government did to us. They denied our dude. They violated so many of our friggin' constitutional rights, bro. At least 5 of them that I'm like really, really aware of.
Yeah, they in terms of, just off the top of my head, I know that they denied the right to a speedy trial. They denied bail,
due process,
access to one's lawyer, access
they
to
even did mine.
The evidence.
My First Amendment. Remember with my religious items at the time I was an Odinist, and I had a Mjolnir amulet, and they threw it in the trash.
Yeah, and particularly for you, I recall, even though we were in solitary and we got only an hour out of ourselves, there were some times where those of us who were at the time were Christian, we could at least come together as a body to have a Bible study maybe. But in your case, I recall the only way you could even review any religious texts as an Odinist was if you had money on your books and so you could log into that tablet. So in your case, the ability to exercise your faith.
When you guys had your little church going on, I went in there and hung out with you guys.
But your stuff was hidden essentially behind a paywall, and doesn't seem very.
No, it's not fair, dude.
No.
Yeah, by law. I was supposed to be able to have that ball, but dude, look here. Okay, I might have to get going here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But I also want to get on like one of the really messed up things that they did to us. All right, by law, I'm supposed to be able to get a shave and a haircut, and my nails clipped. Basic hygiene was denied to us unless we got a COVID vaccine.
And a couple people did get the COVID vaccine, but from what I recall, they still got denied.
Yeah, still did. They might have got his Civic might have got his shave and his haircut, but guess what? You didn't get your visits, did you, buddy? Sheeple.
Yeah, I have different words for civic.
Man,
it starts with S and ends in itch, but before you go.
Nah, dude, I remember hearing it. You know what? I will say, I guarantee you that dude was fucking snitching. I will say that on fucking record. Reason why I say that is because that motherfucker was heard saying that he would snitch on anybody so that he could fucking get out. Heard.
Yeah,
I'm
what's
sorry, dude.
What's bizarre?
I'll blast it. I don't care. Come fight me, dude.
I mean, what's bizarre is that, you're spot on about how a lot of guys didn't know how to man up in the situation because they'd never had to be in that kind of environment, and so they didn't know how to carry themselves. And so it's odd because a lot of them were doing it and they were flagrant about it. They didn't care who knew. They were almost proud of it, and that would be the last thing I would think they would want people to know. But at the height of things, it just got so bad that they would brag about being, backstabbers. But, I don't.
Somebody just look off 10 rounds. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, dude. I know. I watched it. I peeked it all, dude.
It was like all morality got inverted at one point. So before we wrap up, I do want to be cognizant of your time.
Oh, dude, I'll definitely do another one with you. No problem.
Absolutely. So, I'm going to give you the floor to just speak open-endedly about your time and anything else you think people should know.
All right. Well, I just want to let it be known, too, man, that the host, the man that let me come on here and do this, Timothy Hale. I love you like a brother, man. You know, because in times that were real hard, you were in the cell right next to mine, and you never judged me. You never treated me any kind of way, man. You were always cool with me, bro. And, you know, I tried to help everybody as best as I could in there. Everyone that came in there I welcomed with open arms. And anybody that was in there, regardless if they liked me or not, will tell you that I never disrespected anybody. And I always tried to help everybody I possibly could. And I loved every single man that was in there, like they were my brother. All right? And for the way that we were treated in there, nobody should have went through that. Like, at worst, like, I got arrested that day, given my notice to appear. That's the way it should have played out. But no, they wanted to make it the biggest deal, Pearl Harbor, 9/11, and the Civil War wrapped into one, which it wasn't. Okay? And things did get out of hand. Yeah, it's messed up that happened at our nation's capital. But guess what? Okay? It was instigated and incited by the United States government. All right? And we just happened to get caught in the middle of some power struggle. And they ended up using us as scapegoats and Trump as the leader of an insurrection when no one was charged with insurrection. You know, and that I hope that, you know, people just come to be better people out of this and learn from it and say, hey, you know what? Enough's enough, man. You know, you got to be willing to stand up and lose everything, or you'll lose everything anyways. You know, I'd rather die on my feet than ever bow on my knees. You know, only being I bow for is God. Never kneel to a man or a government or an entity that's run by a human. You know, so that's basically it, you know, and this nation was founded on principles. And yeah, it has a rough history, but we've gotten past that, and it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever. If you live in America and you're an American citizen, you are an American. You know? Don't see none of that stuff, man. We're all one, you know? That's what America is. And for them to portray it the way that it was nothing but a bunch of redneck, white supremacist MAGA supporters. You should have seen the different ethnic groups that we were locked up with, huh? What, were they white supremacists too? You know? All that crap just needs to go out the window. What you saw that day was a bunch of pissed off Americans that had enough, and you seen the government instigate them. They threw gasoline on a friggin' atomic bomb, and that's what they wanted. But, you know, even though it was hopeless for us in there, and it seemed like we were just going to be buried, I knew it was going to take some time, but I knew that the truth was going to come out, and I knew that everything was going to start getting exposed, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know exactly where it is, can't remember exactly, but it does say in the Bible that which is done in the dark shall come to light. And you know what? It took a couple years, but here we go. You know, let's save America. That's it.
Mr. Curzio, I thank you for speaking with me. I thank you for telling your story. And, you know, all that aside, I'm grateful that you were in there with me. I'm glad you got out, but you were a good man in there. I'm glad you've been able to make a better life for yourself and find yourself in a better place than you were when you were in there. And I'm hoping that's will end up being true for everyone. But I can definitely vouch for the fact that you are not the man that you were claimed to have been. And, you know, thank you again for sharing your insights. I am looking forward to the future where we change the narrative and where we will be the ones to write the history of this dark chapter. So thank you very much Thank you for being a friend, and thank you for being an American.
Man, you're welcome, Tim. And hey, I just want to say one more thing, dude. You remember when we got there, I wrote a song. I wrote the lyrics to a song. Okay? And, now I have a band out here. We're called, can I give my band a shout out?
Go for it.
All right, we're called Division of Corruption. And you can look up right now that I'm 100% sure on. You can look us up on YouTube Music. We got 3 songs out. One's called Lockdown. The other one's called Pursue and Destroy. And the song that I wrote in the DC jail is called Patriot Anthem. And when I'm ready to do that music video, dude, you definitely have to be in.
I'm definitely going to. I look forward to that. Patriot Anthem.
Yep.
I remember when you were writing it.
Can't wait. But love you all, man. Love you, Tim. Talk to you later, brother.
Yes, sir. Godspeed.
Godspeed, brother.
Patriot Anthem!